Did you know that your gut influences your mood, your stress levels, and even how you think? Let's explore how the gut microbiome interacts with emotions, behavior, and mental health. The gut-brain axis is a two-way communication pathway between the gut and your nervous system. Gut microbes play a central role in this connection by producing chemical signals that interact with the brain. Gut bacteria and intestinal cells actually produce 90 to 95% of the body's baseline serotonin, a key hormone in mood regulation, sleep, and eating behavior. A fascinating study titled Transferring the Blues demonstrates a significant relationship between our microbiome and our mood. Researchers took microbiota from two groups of people, one with major depression and another group of controls without depression. The microbiota from the depressed group showed reduced microbial diversity compared to the controls. The samples were then transferred to microbiota-depleted rats, whose microbiome had been wiped out by antibiotics, providing a clean slate for colonization. Here's what happened next. The rats that received microbiota from depressed individuals showed measurable changes in behavior, including increased anxiety and depression-like symptoms. They showed higher anxiety in maze tests and lost interest in sweet water, which is a classic sign of anhedonia or loss of pleasure. Meanwhile, the rats that received the microbiota from the control group continued to be active and curious. So what changed inside their bodies? There was a key change in the metabolism of the amino acid tryptophan, the building block for serotonin. More tryptophan was shunted down the kynurenine pathway, a stress and inflammation pathway, as opposed to be used for serotonin synthesis. The result is less available serotonin and increased metabolites that adversely affect brain inflammation and mood. This study is one of the clearest examples that changes in microbiome composition alone, without any modification of psychological stressors, can directly impact mood, not just correlate with it. When facing a major life decision, we're told to trust our gut instinct, or our intuition. The gut-brain axis allows us to feel real-time physical sensations in the body in response to life events that impact our emotional state. So, how does this communication work? The enteric nervous system, sometimes referred to as our second brain, is a huge network of neurons embedded along the walls of the GI tract, from the lower esophagus all the way down to the rectum. This system communicates with the brain through the vagus nerve, the primary nerve pathway of the parasympathetic nervous system. When we're relaxed and at ease, the parasympathetic system is active, slowing the heart rate, lowering blood pressure, and directing the body's energy towards recovery, repair, and digestion. This state, known as rest and digest, activates the enteric nervous system, allowing the body to effectively digest food, absorb nutrients, and consequently support overall health. Microbial production of short-chain fatty acids can directly stimulate enterochromaffin cells in the gut to make serotonin. And, as we learned from the rats, gut microbes can also determine whether tryptophan is directed towards serotonin synthesis or the kynurenine inflammatory pathway. While gut-produced neurotransmitters don't cross the blood-brain barrier, they still influence the brain indirectly. Serotonin, dopamine, and GABA can act locally on the enteric nervous system or activate sensory neurons in the gut lining. These neurons send signals up the vagus nerve to the brainstem, shaping your mood, your cognition, and your satiety. Accordingly, dysbiosis has been associated with various mental health conditions, including major depressive disorder and anxiety disorders. A 2024 meta-analysis of 20 clinical trials concluded that probiotic supplementation can substantially reduce depressive symptoms and moderately reduce anxiety symptoms compared to placebo. In fact, these improvements in mood can occur quite rapidly, as one study tracking daily self-reports noted an improvement in mood after just 2 weeks of probiotic supplementation. This occurred in healthy individuals without any formal psychiatric diagnosis. So, how does our microbiome composition actually impact our emotional regulation? In a 4-week randomized controlled trial in depressed individuals, multi-species probiotic intake led to shifts in emotional salience, meaning their brains responded differently and more adaptively to emotional stimuli. Participants taking the probiotic had greater accuracy in identifying emotional facial expressions compared to those on placebo, and they were less vigilant and reactive to both positive and negative stimuli. These data suggest that probiotic intake alters emotional processing in depressed individuals in a different way than conventional antidepressant medication. In line with the potential for different mechanisms, a recent systematic review concluded that combined intake of probiotics with SSRIs is superior to SSRI treatment alone in individuals with major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. In fact, many patients experience undesirable side effects like GI discomfort, weight gain, or gut inflammation from traditional antidepressant medication. Probiotics can be helpful in offsetting these changes. Microbiome composition influences our mental health through modulation of both neurotransmitter production as well as emotional processing and reactivity. Research suggests that probiotic intake can be effective as an adjunct treatment option for anxiety and depression in conjunction with conventional therapy, leading to improvements in both symptoms and mood within just a few weeks. The gut is actually our largest immune interface, estimated to contain 70 to 80% of immune cells in the human body. Through interaction with the gut, the microbiome plays a critical role in the development of both innate and adaptive immunity by educating the immune system to distinguish harmful pathogens from benign substances. The gut microbiome also produces antimicrobial peptides, which help guard the gut directly from pathogen colonization. In fact, gut-derived antimicrobial peptides are actively being researched for their great potential in treating multi-antibiotic resistant infections, with several AMP-based drugs currently in clinical trials. It might seem surprising that the central hub of the immune system is located in the gut, but from an evolutionary standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Most pathogens entered the body through food and water. If you've ever played the Oregon Trail video game, do you remember how many times you died of dysentery? Thankfully, due to modern sanitation practices, it's no longer common to die of dysentery, cholera, or typhoid. A more emerging threat now is the consumption of ultra-processed foods that don't provide nourishment for our microbiome or our body. However, the gut still remains the most exposed internal organ to microbes and pathogens daily, and microbiome health is vital to a balanced immune response. Let's look specifically at autoimmune disease, chronic illnesses that are characterized by immune dysregulation and systemic inflammation. Similar patterns of gut dysbiosis have been identified across autoimmune conditions, with reduced microbial diversity, lower abundance of beneficial bacteria such as lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, and increased inflammatory species. Functionally, this may directly alter immune responses, promoting autoantibody formation as well as leaky gut. A systematic review published in 2025 concluded that interventions aimed at restoring microbial balance may reduce disease activity, modulate immune responses, and improve clinical outcomes in individuals with autoimmune disease, providing an adjunct interventional strategy. Probiotic supplementation was found to be safe and well tolerated in patients across all included trials. So, what about evidence for general immune function? A clinical trial out of Stanford examined participants on a high-fiber diet or a high-fermented foods diet for 10 weeks. While the results in the high-fiber group varied by baseline microbiome composition, individuals on the high-fermented foods diet showed increased microbial diversity, reduced markers of inflammation, and improved immune response. The authors conclude that fermented foods may be powerful modulators of the microbiome immune system axis, and therefore provide an opportunity to combat non-communicable chronic diseases. Interventions such as probiotic supplementation and consumption of fermented foods have been shown to positively influence immune system function and reduce certain inflammatory markers. Therefore, microbiome-targeted interventions provide a promising opportunity to improve chronic immune and inflammatory conditions. Now that you have a clear understanding of the important roles of the gut microbiome in our health, it's not surprising that the majority of chronic diseases are associated with gut dysbiosis. However, it should be noted that this is an association and does not imply direct causation, as the etiology of chronic disease is multifactorial. The following chronic diseases have been associated with dysbiosis in scientific literature: cardiovascular disease, metabolic and endocrine disorders, including type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, gastrointestinal conditions such as irritable bowel syndrome, colorectal cancer, and celiac disease, immune and autoimmune conditions, neurological and psychiatric disorders, including Parkinson's disease and dementia, respiratory disorders, as well as kidney and urinary disorders. Current research indicates that interventions that improve microbial diversity and function, such as high-fiber diets, increased fermented food consumption, probiotic intake, or other lifestyle modifications, can help prevent, manage, and in some cases significantly reduce symptoms associated with these conditions. If you'd like to learn the practical steps that you can take to optimize the health of your microbiome, check out part 3, where I'll break down the most effective practices that you can take to integrate into your routine. Okay, my friends, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.